Hare Krishna, welcome for another session of the Gita Life course. We're continuing with our journey on the wonderful Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Gita Life book. And as
avec
we
la Bhagavad Gita
we finished
et Gita Life.
chapter 13 last time, and we started on chapter 14.
On a fini le chapitre 14 la dernière fois, et là, on avait commencé le chapitre
The acronym for chapter 13
15,
was
qui était l'acronyme du chapitre 14.
Krishna is describing the variety of questions Arjuna is asking. Yes.
No, I don't remember.
Trick. Well, this time he's presenting the knowledge in a different way, in a Sankhya way, to make us more. No, to make us more wise. So it's the wise is the acronym. So if you can't remember the acronym, that means we remember the individual component parts. W is wise questions. Because Krishna
C'était sage,
6
14.
wise questions. And then I is items of knowledge. So we go into individual component parts of those wise questions. And then he describes further about the journey of the super soul and what is the relationship with the soul and who's the real enjoyer, like that. So we covered all of those questions. We came to Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnanam and Gnayam. Prakriti is nature, Purusha is the enjoyer, Kshetra is the field, Kshetrajna is the knower of the field, Jnana is the knowledge, and Gnayam is the object of knowledge. And remember we started with the three modes of material nature section, which is chapters 14 and 17, with a nice quiz. You remember the quiz? Chapter 14's quiz was about the three modes of material nature. What was the quiz?
On a fait un quiz sur les trois modes de la nature matérielle.
No? Really? I thought that was the one.
The shorter
Yeah.
Oh, yes!
What was the A?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Influence. Yeah.
Which pen would you pick? Which color were there? Blue and red. Yes. Yeah. And what was the purpose? What was the experiment called? It was called the conformity experiment. Right. And why did we do it? Because we wanted to identify who were.
No, most people follow like sheep instead of thinking for themselves.
Wonderful, thank you. So somebody who's influenced and somebody who's the influencer.
On a fait du coup ce test sur l'influenceur et qui est influencé, qui est influenceur.
That the three modes of material nature is always influencing our attention.
Et c'est pour ça qu'on a parlé de ça, parce qu'il y a les trois modes de la nature matérielle nous influencent sans cesse. On est toujours influencé par quelqu'un dans ce monde.
And so we continue on this path of this journey. Now, before we begin, we will obviously do our Mangal Achara.
Donc avant de commencer, on va faire notre Mangal Achara.
In the modern times, known as gratitude prayers.
Ce qui s'appelle de nos jours la prière de gratitude.
What are we doing? We are paying, offering respects, as it says, respectful obeisances. So that means when we are giving respects, it means we are grateful.
On offre nos respects. Pourquoi? Parce qu'on a la gratitude.
Obeisances is an act of gratefulness, is a way to show respect.
And surrender, no?
Of course, surrender and humility. So all these things come in like that. So let's start.
Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnana Jana Salakaya Sakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachacha Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai.
We welcome our brightest and youngest student for Sangeeta. He's joined us. Thank you for joining us, Sangeeta, on this course. We're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. So welcome to join us in our course. Please come.
Merci de nous rejoindre dans ce cours.
We are here looking at the three modes of material nature, and as we know, we covered up the different experiments that we did.
Ça, c'était l'expérience qu'on avait faite.
We started off with. I asked you some questions about what is it in this course that we are covering like that. And so we went through all of that.
On a déjà vu tout ça.
But there is, and we also mentioned that this is the start, or we've already started part of the last 6 chapters of the Gita.
Donc on rappelle que là, on couvre les derniers 6 chapitres, qui est le yoga de la sagesse, le Dhyana Yoga.
We've learned about yoga of love, and now we're coming into yoga of wisdom. In the last chapter we talked about the different angles of approaching.
Le dernier chapitre, on a vu les derniers angles d'approcher cette connaissance à travers les 6 questions d'Arjuna.
And now we're going to be talking about continuing the topic of the 3 modes of material nature.
Et maintenant, on va continuer par rapport aux 3 modes de la nature matérielle.
So, I'll continue to the point where we left off last time. We've gone through. Okay, I'll start actually at the first acronym, 3 modes, and I'll start there because that way I'll whiz through that because this gives you a recap as to where we are.
On va recommencer ici, comme ça va nous rappeler un peu ce qu'on disait.
So, the 3 modes are
donc les 3 modes
tamas, and sattva.
Rajas,
so I'll be asking you some questions about these. Rajas means?
Que signifie Rajas?
Passion. Ignorance.
Passion.
La passion.
Passion, yes. Tamas means? Ignorance, correct.
And sattva means? Et sattva, c'est quoi?
Goodness.
Goodness, wonderful.
Bonté.
And these are also associated with some colors.
Et c'est aussi associé à des couleurs.
You remember some colors?
Rajas, yellow.
Rajas is?
Yellow.
No, red.
No?
So, Rajas is the mode of?
Passion.
Passion.
Rajas, c'est le mode de la passion, et la passion,
If
c'est...
you want to think about passion, there's 2 aspects of thinking about passion. Which foodstuff gives you passion? Spice, chilies. Pink chili sometimes is always red. Red chilies, red powder
c'est
chili.
rouge,
So
le
it's
mode de la
red.
passion.
Think of it like
Juste
that.
comme les piments.
Also, when you are disposing your love, you have a heart.
Aussi quand
And
on
what is the shape,
voit
the color of the heart?
le cœur, quand on veut montrer
That's
notre
the
passion.
also. Hence, the lust and the passion related with that.
And also in advertisement, they use a lot of red.
Yes. Lots of red is utilized
Coca-Cola.
in advertising, so it can actually grab our attention. Right? Interestingly, the color for
C'est aussi beaucoup utilisé dans la publicité
ignorance
pour capturer
for
notre
tamas
attention.
was blue. Interesting, huh?
Le bleu, c'est le mode de l'ignorance.
Because of that I was reading in a book that when you come to temple, you're not supposed to wear blue or red.
It's one of the reasons because you're invoking within you and others invoking them those modes. But remember, in a temple room, although that's the rule, also in nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, these rules are there. But obviously,
il y a des règles dans le nectar de la dévotion qui dit qu'on ne doit pas porter du rouge ou du bleu dans le temple. Est-ce que c'est pour ça? C'est une question. Je dis oui, c'est une des réponses. Pourquoi? Parce qu'on influence. Généralement, les dévots essayent de porter des couleurs plus simples.
It's generally not recommended, yes. And the blue that's been described here is more the darker senses of
Le
blues.
bleu qui est décrit, c'est
But as
plutôt
you know,
une
the,
couleur
color,
sombre.
the altar itself is decorated with multiple colors, like that, isn't it? So, Krishna is allowed all the colors.
L'autel lui-même est décoré de
Because
plusieurs
he's transcendental
couleurs,
to the material world.
parce que les couleurs qui sont offertes à Krishna ne
So then we
sont pas dans les modes.
talked about the three modes. The material nature considered three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes
On
in
a déjà
contact
vu
with nature,
verset
or Arjuna, he
5.
becomes conditioned by these modes. And then we talked about the process of binding.
La nature matérielle est constituée de
Guna,
trois gunas,
yes.
la
What does
vertu, la
guna
passion
mean
et
again?
l'ignorance. Lorsque l'être vivant éternel
Road.
entre en contact
Yes.
avec elle, ou
Guna
Arjuna, le
means
point
road.
puissant, il en subit le conditionnement. Donc, qu'elle signifie
And what are these roads?
Guna c'est le mode de la nature matérielle, c'est corde. Donc, quelles
So
sont
material worlds
ces cordes
to bind us. Yes. So
et à quoi ils
there's a
servent?
famous
C'est pour nous
diagram
lier.
in the Bhagavad Gita, which I didn't share with you previously, which I'm going to share with you today. And this is a classic diagram that is there. Three modes of material nature. They use these ropes to bind.
Il y a cette photo connue qui est dans la Bhagavad Gita. Ça, c'est les trois modes de la nature qui nous influencent à faire de différentes
and look, they're
activités.
wearing the colors. Red,
Et on peut voir,
red,
ils ont chacun leur couleur.
Yellow. Exactly. Yeah, these are the previous slides, 1990 and 2011. You can see the difference. The chair, the diagram, after Mataji will sit here. There's chairs here, Mataji, if you can come. TV size, see previously, this is like again influenced. Like, technology is the biggest influencer, isn't it?
La technologie, c'est ce qui
And
nous
so in
influence le
1990,
plus.
technology wasn't so much, it wasn't like, taking over our lives. So people were going out a lot more, exercising a lot more, they were slimmer. But then in the millenniums, the televisions become slimmer and the persons become more fat. As you can see. You can see this, right? And this is the paradox of our times, like this,
Ça, c'est la puissance des choses de notre temps, c'est la technologie qui nous influence.
People in the previous ages listening to music like with a music system, they were having conversations together, but now they're in front of their TV or in front of their computer, listening to music or listening to whatever they want. Watching films together in a settee on a TV, or going out to cinema, or doing collective things together. Now,
écouter de la musique, c'est comme ça que ça nous influence aussi. Regarder des films.
And this, can you hear me? They're shouting even louder like this. Especially they're calling India. They're thinking they have to louder. It's so true. It was like when we were in East Africa. I was born in East Africa, and my dad used to sometimes come in London today.
Parler au téléphone avec des amis.
Can you hear me? It's like very loud. And thinking, no, it's the same thing. You cannot have to shout louder. But now it's like, well, just on the phone or on the.
On peut voir qu'avant il y avait différentes technologies, différentes choses pour lire les nouvelles, pour appeler des amis, pour regarder des films, pour écouter de la musique. Mais que de nos jours, c'est toujours la même chose. Écouter de la musique, c'était sur des vrais instruments.
What an improvement, right? Everything is on the mass weapon of distraction.
You don't need to move.
Don't have to move, just like this. Yeah. This is the problem. Mass weapon distraction. This is what's happening now. So before parties,
c'est une arme de distraction massive. Avant les anniversaires, c'était comme ça, c'était ensemble.
What happens now? Look at all these notifications.
Wow.
Instead of a present, it is actually just a picture of a present. Instead of an actual cake, it's a picture of a cake.
C'est plus un gâteau ou un cadeau, C'est une image d'un gâteau et une image d'un cadeau. Il y a tellement de gens qui m'aiment parce qu'ils m'envoient des notifications de joyeux anniversaire. C'est actually sad.
This is the problem. We are constantly influenced by technology.
On est complètement influencé par la technologie. Maintenant, la technologie elle va vraiment à la 8e vitesse.
Technology is going to 8th gear. Why? Because it's come across
AI.
Artificial intelligence.
Maintenant, c'est l'intelligence artificielle.
As if that intelligence in this phone wasn't artificial enough, now they've got artificial intelligence. Like, you know? So this is what's happening. Soon you're going to have not only these, you know, friends missing, these friends are going to be missing. Just see if I can get a pen. These friends will be missing. You'll be there with a robot, you know?
Maintenant, il n'y aura plus ses amis, il y aura des robots.
Happy birthday. You know, and walking off, like, you know?
They will be better than that, I think.
Very better than, obviously, they'll be like cooking dinner, making the cake, and all at the same time. Chaturbuja, Chaturbuja, 6 eyeballs of the robot will come in and make the cooking, huh? Yeah, it could be better.
Mayavadi robots.
Mayavadi robots. That's hilarious.
Actually, I read, Sri Shopanishad, verse 9 and 10, Prabhupada speak. It's quite amazing how Prabhupada foreseen how technology will be.
Yeah.
He explained what's happening.
It's true. All the scriptures actually tell you the foresight and vision.
Yeah.
This is what we're describing. With this knowledge, you not only get information, not only get knowledge, not only get wisdom, but you get foresight and vision.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you're proving the point.
Because he speak about nescience, and Prabhupada speak about technology, how to bring us stupid.
Makes us dumb and dull-headed. So then we talked about our sambandha, abhideya, prayojana, our relationship, process and the goal. And then we focused a bit more on the practice.
Là, on s'est focalisé sur la pratique, le processus, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire, le style de vie, comment vivre et le caractère qui vous êtes. Ces 3 choses doivent être développées. C'est juste une récapitulation de ce qu'on a vu. Les 5 choses qu'on voit dans la Bhagavad Gita, l'identité, la nature, l'activité, le temps et Dieu. Là, on se focalise sur la nature. Les 4 modes de la nature matérielle. Et c'est pas seulement autour de nous, c'est aussi à l'intérieur. Nos pensées sont aussi gouvernées par les 3 modes de la nature matérielle. Ils sont aussi à l'extérieur de nous, partout. Vous vous rappelez des exemples qu'on a trouvés. Si je vous dis autour de nous,
time of the day, yes.
Les temps, les différentes périodes de la journée, la nourriture, les endroits,
places, colors, we just talked about
how we dress.
Yeah. So all of these things. And there are many things. This is just an example.
Il y a plein de choses, ça c'est que des exemples.
Also places, like if you have to have an example of places, what would you say? Places in the mode of goodness?
Forests,
natures.
I was going to say Vrindavan.
Vrindavan, yes. Right?
Transcendental.
Some places, Vrindavan. And even in Vrindavan nowadays, there are places which are in Rajasic and Tamasic.
I've heard about it.
And place in passion.
Donc, quel genre d'endroits sont dans le mode de la vertu, la forêt, la nature. La passion, c'est la ville. La ville, là où les gens travaillent. C'est très passionné.
Ignorance. Yeah, ignorance. Definitely. Because killing happens there, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of, these things. Yeah? And then within us, we have our
Le mode de
faith. Our
l'ignorance,
faith can also
là où il y a
be
les
three
4 principes
modes.
régulateurs qui sont
Our faith can be
cassés.
three modes of material nature. You know,
Notre foi, à l'intérieur,
what
notre
our
foi
intention
peut
of the faith
être
is.
affectée par les 3 modes de la nature matérielle.
Our charity can be in the three
Notre
modes.
charité, elle peut être dans les 3 modes de la
Yeah.
nature
So if we are
matérielle.
giving charity begrudgingly, somebody's asking
Si on
for
donne la
charity.
charité
Here we go.
alors qu'on ne veut pas, avec une mauvaise humeur, ça c'est le mode de l'ignorance.
That's the mode of passion.
Si on le fait pour
When you give
avoir
unconditionally,
un
I'm
prestige,
just gonna give money because it's really required, but they need it. That's
mais
the
si on
mode
veut
of
vraiment donner parce que
expecting
la
any-
personne elle le veut, parce que la personne elle a besoin et qu'on n'en veut rien en retour,
And you can even
ça c'est
transcend
le
that.
mode de la vertu.
Determination can also be
La
in the mode of
détermination
passion.
peut être dans le mode de la, dans les travaux de la nature,
Desires
le
and
désir
devotion.
et même notre
Bhakti.
dévotion.
Again, bhakti deposed with, okay, I have to do this bhakti, I have to do devotional service, it's my duty because my family's been doing it, or I've been asked to do. I don't really
Si on
want
fait
to do it.
le service de
sit down.
dévotion
No, that's more
forcé,
laziness, because
parce qu'il
laziness
faut
is
le
bad.
faire, parce qu'on veut, parce que
If you're doing
c'était la
it,
tradition,
okay, I
les
will do
choses
this
comme ça,
because I
ça
know
nous
I'm
donne
gonna
l'ignorance.
get nice prasadam at the end
Si
of
on
it,
le
I'm
fait
gonna
parce
do deity
que, par
worship,
exemple,
because I'm gonna have access to the
on
prasadam.
va avoir quelque chose, par exemple, on va adorer les divinités, parce qu'on veut par exemple prendre du Mahaprasad, des choses comme ça. Alors ça c'est le mode de la passion, ou alors oh, je vais recevoir quelque chose en retour, en fait c'est toujours le mode de la passion.
I'm serving the Lord because I want to develop a relationship. I'm serving the Lord because I would like to help the temple also do some deity worship and get me purified. That's the mode of goodness.
It's not transcendental?
Because you care.
It's not transcendental, that?
So there is a subtle differences between goodness and transcendental. So unconditional, loving, just to develop that love and serving Krishna the way he likes, that's transcendental. But the serving Krishna out of just love, I want to do my duty and my service, that's in goodness. There's a subtle difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, by duty, that is mode of goodness.
yes. Duty,
Because
doing it nicely with the best intentions, doing your best, that's still in the mode of goodness.
Okay.
But you're doing it out of love, when you love something, or someone rather, then you automatically will do your best. Because I love I love the personality I'm serving. Let me see if this will look nice on, this way will look nice on him. Yes, look at that, it looks amazing. Look how beautiful he's looking. When they're dressing him, etc. And dressing Radharani, or look how Radharani is holding something very nice for Krishna. Let me make it so nice, it's really attractive for Krishna. So you do all of these things, it's just a different mood altogether.
Yes. Le mode de la vertu, la dévotion, c'est plutôt... C'est parce que c'est notre devoir. On le fait.
We talked about each of the modes.
On a déjà parlé des 3 modes.
Qualities of goodness,
On a vu les qualités, et la joie, la sagesse, l'altruisme, la santé, la compassion. Les effets, ça nous pacifie, ça nous clarifie et ça nous illumine. C'est dur maintenant et c'est bien plus tard.
Yes, sattva guna. Yeah, guna means rope, as you say, and sattva means goodness.
Are you sure it's called sattva, not something similar?
No, sattvic or sattva, both same thing. Sattvic means goodness, sattva means goodness.
Wasn't it sajas?
Rajas, you're mixing up, I think, terminology. Rajasic, tamasic, sattvic. Okay, so passion. So then goodness is hard now, good later, for sure. And then passion, what did you say about passion?
Donc la passion, c'était quoi?
Hard later.
Yeah. And qualities of passion? Greed, anger, ambition.
Les qualités de la passion, c'est la cupidité, la colère, l'ambition et des efforts intenses.
Sometimes if you think there's a project, we want to do something and it's becoming an over endeavor, then we use our intelligence to break the problem down and then attack the problem in smaller component parts. Then it reduces the over endeavor. It means it's a gradual thing. Then that's in the mode of goodness.
Si on veut atteindre un but et qu'on le casse en différents petits morceaux, et qu'on veut faire partie par partie, ça c'est dans le mode de la vertu. Mais quand on veut juste faire tout de suite, très vite, c'est le mode de la passion.
You can do something very hard for you, but you continue because you know you need to continue in this hard, but in the future is better.
Sure.
Yeah, but doing your austerity, you lament.
Okay.
What is this?
That's also in the passion. Because the lamentation,
Even if you execute your austerity, I give you an example.
yeah.
For example, you go to the one retreat, and in India, for example, or to the Holy Names, and it's very, very hard.
Intense.
Intense and hard. But you continue because
Your
today you want to
your
have
determination.
determination. But doing this, you have one mood. Your mood is lamenting. What is this?
There's two aspects to this. First, that you're
What is the result?
first there is a determination.
Yeah.
And determination generally is in the mode of goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah? But your intention, what is the intention that you have? What is your intention that you want to fulfill? Why are you doing this whole activity in the first place?
Yeah.
Is it to cultivate some skill? Is it to cultivate some things for the Lord? Are you to please the Lord? That's why you're doing the austerity. Because you want to improve, if you're going to a japa retreat, you want to improve your japa so that you can make a better connection with the Lord.
Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah? And the purpose of that better connection? Well, what is that purpose? That is the key. That is the key that's going to drive whether it's in the mode of goodness, passion,
Il y avait une
ignorance,
question,
or goodness.
est-ce que je fais, c'est le mode de la passion ou de la vertu ou de l'ignorance. Et Saint Pierre Prabhu, il dit, ça dépend quel est le but, quel est votre but quand vous faites cette chose.
So your purpose of actually going to the japa retreat will determine the mode that will attract. So this is why Keshav Swami and all the others would say, set your to be. What is your to be up front?
C'est pour ça qu'il dit, il faut déjà que vous soyez clair sur ce que vous voulez être.
Pujari service in the morning. I'm going to wake up. You starting the night before. I'm going to wake up at 2 o'clock. My clothes are ready. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get my some japa done. But my intention for this service is so I can please the Lord and I can make a better connection with Him. If that is your intention, then the modes automatically work in that favor to bring you to that favor.
And we need to renew it, I suppose.
And as you're progressing and we're feeling our consciousness dropping, then we remember our purpose. You can even write it down and keep it with you.
Quand vous faites quelque chose, avant tout, posez-vous la question, pourquoi est-ce que je veux faire ça? Quel est mon but? Qu'est-ce que je veux devenir? Pourquoi est-ce que je fais ça? Soyez clair avec ça. Et quand les choses vont mal ou quand votre conscience descend, il faut vous rappeler pourquoi vous avez fait ça, pourquoi est-ce que vous avez pris la décision de faire ce service ou cette activité.
So if that purpose is right, then it doesn't matter about the modes. But as you example that you used, if you're lamenting, then bring back that mode. Then you know your consciousness is dropping. You can see, oh yeah, my consciousness is dropping. But you have to catch yourself. Sometimes we can't catch ourselves.
Il faut vraiment s'attraper. Des fois, on n'arrive pas à s'en rendre compte en fait.
Is that we've had a bad something happened.
Et pour deux raisons. On ne peut pas savoir ce qui se passe en nous. C'est parce que, par exemple, il s'est passé quelque chose de négatif. Par exemple, quelqu'un nous a dit quelque chose et ça nous a perturbé. Déjà de un, il faut un Vaishnava, il ne pense pas que quelqu'un l'offense. Il ne pense pas que c'est tourné vers lui. Mais ça ne sert à rien aussi de dire « Ah, il ne s'est rien passé ».
then the mind is tricking you. Let's not get into this cycle. Let me go and speak to somebody who's going to uplift me.
Il faut savoir, est-ce que c'est une situation extérieure que je peux améliorer? Par exemple, est-ce que je dors pas assez ou des choses comme ça? Mais si, il faut faire attention que le mental ne nous arnaque pas. Et en fait, si tous les signaux sont bons, il faut qu'on parle avec quelqu'un qui nous inspire. On a un manque d'inspiration en fait. Donc les effets de la passion, c'est que ça nous provoque, ça nous déroute, ça nous frustre. Donc c'est facile maintenant et c'est plus tard dur. Et c'est en fait dans l'humeur de faire les choses, la passion. De créer quelque chose, de faire quelque chose, d'être actif. Maintenant, le mode de l'ignorance, les qualités, c'est le sommeil, la délusion, l'indifférence, l'apathie, la oisiveté, la paresse. Dormez assez.
Get on the phone, yes, I'm watching this nicely, and then the quality of your sleep is completely ruined because you are putting in blue rays in your consciousness, you're not going to sleep very well. Phone is away.
Faites attention à la technologie, au téléphone. Ça nous emmène souvent dans l'ignorance, ça nous fatigue.
Generally advised not to read in bed. Because firstly, the scriptures are scriptures and the bed is completely dirty.
Généralement, c'est conseillé de ne pas lire dans le lit parce que c'est dans le mode de l'ignorance. Quand vous vous asseyez sur une chaise, c'est plus simple de se concentrer et d'absorber la connaissance. Les effets du mode de l'ignorance obscurcit, entrave et stagne. En fait, ça nous stagne, ça stagne tous nos progrès, que ce soit matériel ou spirituel. Ça nous obscurcit parce qu'on ne peut pas voir en fait qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire, pourquoi on doit le faire. Donc c'est mauvais maintenant et c'est mauvais plus tard. On veut juste avoir. C'est une mentalité d'avoir de. Le fort. Les quatre modes de la nature, les quatre principes régulateurs, si on les casse, c'est complètement le mode de l'ignorance.
I mean, you're coming out of the human platform, you're an animal platform. Animals are always in the mode of ignorance, generally. All right, move on. And so then we came into this table.
Ensuite, on a parlé de ça, des modes de la nature, d'après les différentes activités.
For example, sleep, excessive and late nights. Of course, if you are a doctor, you're a nurse, you have special, public services that you're doing, and you need to rest accordingly.
Donc on a déjà vu ça, dormir dans le mode de l'ignorance, on dort trop, on va au lit tard. Mais la passion, c'est pas régulé, mais c'est trop peu. Et dans la bonté, c'est régulé. Et c'est aussi, on se lève tôt. En tant que parent ou alors en tant que mentor. Si jamais vous avez des responsabilités envers quelqu'un, vous ne pouvez pas être négligent ou inattentif. Ça, c'est dans le mode de l'ignorance. Au niveau de la passion, on coerce la personne et on met la pression. Coercer, ça veut dire on va vraiment diriger les gens vers une option. Mais la pression, c'est vraiment voilà, mettre une pression à quelqu'un, il faut le faire, il faut que tu fasses comme ci, il faut que tu fasses comme ça.
Like this. You have to do this course. Like this. You can't force. But when you do something out of love,
dans la bonté, c'est par amour, par discipline et inspiration.
Giving inspiration. Because from your actions speak louder than words.
Les actions parlent plus fort que les mots.
Prabhupada was a living, walking Bhagavatam.
Prabhupada, c'était un Bhagavatam personnifié qui marchait.
And we have a person Bhagavad.
On a le livre Bhagavatam, on a la personne Bhagavatam.
Person Bhagavad is the action, the acting Bhagavad.
La personne Bhagavatam, c'est la personne qui vit le Bhagavatam. Il y en a beaucoup des personnalités comme ça. Par notre communauté en conduisant, en étant distrait et dangereux, dans le mode de la passion, en cassant les règles, en enfreignant les règles, et la bonté en étant prévenant. Discussion, c'est qu'on veut gagner un argument, même si on veut mentir. La passion, c'est en étant entendu, en établissant un point. Alors que dans la bonté, c'est pour connaître la vérité ou découvrir. L'environnement de votre maison, si elle est désordonnée, si elle est impure, si elle est non organisée. Vous pouvez regarder votre chambre ou alors votre armoire. La passion, c'est bruyant, encombré, rapide. Frais et énergisant.
And it's bringing in so much energy, nice energy, then it's fresh and energizing. Not a plastic plant. I know what you're thinking. Plastic plant? Well, it has an effect in terms of at least a mental effect.
No, next time we go to London, we'll inspect your room.
Please. Yes. I have a lot to learn. Mine is in below ignorance. Devotional service can be insensitive, envious. When we have envy and we are insensitive with others, then it's in the mode of ignorance.
Le service de dévotion, c'est si on est insensitif ou alors on est envieux, ou alors c'est dans le mode d'ignorance.
I've been here such a long time. How come they become a pujari and I'm not a pujari yet? I'm been here chanting my japa rounds all this time. How come they're allowed to dress Prabhupada and I'm not allowed to dress Prabhupada? It happens all the time.
J'étais ici depuis si longtemps, pourquoi est-ce que eux ils viennent d'arriver, pourquoi est-ce que eux ils peuvent faire ça alors que moi je ne peux pas? Ça arrive tout le temps. Et ça c'est la nature du Kali Yuga, c'est comme ça que Kali Yuga arrive.
If we're not able to cooperate, that's the win of Maya and Kali Yuga, actually Kali Yuga more. Breaking up people. Passion.
La passion, on veut la renommée, le respect, c'est axé sur les résultats.
How many devotees are attending this Gita Life course, Prabhu? Why didn't we advertise earlier? I wanted the class full. Why is it just one person here? See like that. It's like this, result driven. You can put a class once, see who comes. Like I said, New Mayapur is very unusual. Usually people come in the beginning with 2 or 3 and by the end it's like full class, like wow, okay. Whereas in other places it's like Bhupendra Prabhu will tell you, where course is running at different places, lots of people attend in the beginning. By the time they come it's like, ooh, okay, less. The serious ones stay. At least they got some knowledge, it's okay.
It wasn't like that last year.
It was actually.
Yeah, in the beginning it was packed, we had 14 people.
But then we also joined about 15, 16 towards them, because I have got the number of names and so on. Like about 3 or 4 classes, like 15, 16, and then they dropped again, and then went up again.
Cette dévotion dans la vertu, par la purification et par devoir. Ça, c'est là qu'on avait fini la dernière fois.
Where are we going? Yes, where are we going?
Où allons-nous?
Well, it depends on what ticket you have.
Ça dépend de votre ticket.
That's where you're going. It says destination.
Donc, sur le ticket, il y a écrit la destination.
That's where you're going.
Ça, c'est là où vous allez.
One-way ticket. At the last lesson, we saw, right, where we were going. You all agreed where you wanted to go.
La dernière leçon, on a vu où est-ce qu'on voulait aller.
Admit one. There it says admit one in our hand. Admit one ticket.
Just to remember that we only have one life.
One life. Well, we have many lives, but one life to perfect, to go back home, back to God. Yes, in that sense, yes. So our thoughts determine, create actions.
Nos pensées déterminent nos actions.
And repeated actions.
Et les actions répétées forment quoi?
I'm not good enough.
Oh no, repeated actions. If you're not good enough, you practice until it becomes a habit. Yes.
Dans des actions répétées, ça devient des habitudes. Les parents disaient aux enfants, brossez vos enfants, non, je ne vais pas. Donc ils vous achètent une brosse à dents avec un peu de musique. Ensuite, vous grandissez, vous nettoyez vos dents un peu plus. Et après, ils disent vous devez nettoyer vos dents 2 fois par jour. Ok, bon. Et après, ça devient une habitude. Et vous n'avez même pas besoin de réfléchir. Ça fait partie de votre vie maintenant. Et cette habitude devient notre caractère. Par exemple, se nettoyer les dents, c'est le caractère de la propreté qu'on développe.
Washing behind your ears.
We'll come to that. We'll inspect everybody's ears. So it develops your character. Cleanliness develops that character. So this is a character building exercise. And then that determines our destiny.
Et le caractère détermine notre destin.
So naturally, our thoughts becomes our actions.
Donc nos pensées deviennent nos actions, qui deviennent nos habitudes, qui deviennent notre caractère et qui forment notre destinée. Si vous voulez savoir où vous allez, soyez conscient de vos pensées. Si vous pensez toujours négativement, qu'est-ce qui va passer? Ça va être un voyage négatif. On développe un caractère négatif. Et votre caractère va être négatif et votre destinée va être négative. On a penser, ressentir et vouloir.
Feeling and willing.
Ces 3 choses, il faut vraiment être conscient.
That will then drive us in our feelings to be pure, and therefore our actions will also be pure. So these 3 modes act in this way.
So this is related to the subtle body.
Thoughts, actions, and habits is how we live. Our character is who you are, right? Who you are is very much how you live. This is the way, 3 modes of material nature. This is why the 3 modes of material nature is very, very important. Okay, so then there was a question asked by Keshav Maharaj to our students. 2 questions. First is, to what extent should we be influenced by the modes? Okay?
Donc à quel point devons-nous dans notre vie être affectés par les modes de la nature? En fait, si vous faites que des choses dans le mode de la vertu, vous pouvez être très lent. Des fois, un peu de la passion, on a besoin. Si on doit faire du travail dur, toujours dans le mode de la passion, dans le mode de la vertu, regardez ces plantes, regardez ci, regardez ça. Vous n'allez jamais finir, vous n'allez jamais réussir. Non, il faut un peu d'énergie. Donc à quel point on doit être influencé par les modes de la nature. En fait, on est toujours affecté par les trois modes de la nature matérielle. Influencé et affecté quand on vit dans ce monde. Même les dévots qui pratiquent. Il faut qu'on essaye de cultiver le mode de la vertu.
To see how much mode of goodness is around you. Here, all mode of goodness. Because we're living in a forest, living in a castle.
Et regardez autour de vous combien de modes de la vertu sont apparentes.
Our interactions generally are in mode of goodness. Right? Give me a second. Just finish this sentence and we'll continue Simon. And what you want, or what you can analyze is how much of
Et vous regardez comment vous êtes associé avec le mode de la vertu. Et plus tard, on va parler de comment aller au-delà du mode de la vertu. Mais avant tout, il faut cultiver le mode de la vertu. Bon, avec tout ce qu'on a parlé, comment on dort, quand on se réveille, comment on s'habille, comment on mange. C'est pour ça qu'on a un code d'habillement de comment s'habiller dans le mode de la
ladies have more of a prerogative because they should be decorated nicely. It's their prerogative to do that. No problems. But generally, gents are more relaxed about these things.
So what's the difference between white, yellow, and saffron?
So white is generally who is two forms. First, white is generally who's coming into consciousness and they are trying to learn. Yellow is actually in training, and saffron is somebody who's a renunciate, a brahmachari or a sannyasi. A renunciate who's dedicated completely to just this service. The other form of white is beyond orange, actually. So Paramahamsas are, Hamsa is a name for, in Sanskrit, of a swan. Swans are white. Param means the exalted swans, or Paramahamsas. Paramahamsas generally wear white because they don't have any other contaminations in their head.
What is a Paramahamsa? What is Paramahamsa?
As a personality, for example, in our lineage, in our disciplic succession, personality lies like Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they all wore white. Yeah? Two of them never married. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was married, but again he was wearing something very simple. Simple thinking, high living.
But nobody's doing that anymore, so nobody takes white again, in that sense.
I mean, generally, those who go into Varna Prashta, sometimes they do take white. So I'll give you.
But then they take sannyas, do they take saffron again, or?
It depends. It depends on their what they want to do with saffron. Now, sannyas has two roles also. You can be a sannyas, a kshetra sannyas, which is you're confined to your premises, or you can do a pravirajak sannyas, somebody who's traveling, like Keshava Swami. So there are different layers of sannyas. It really depends on what you want for what is your reference point like that. Now, when I was discussing this, you raised your hand, you had a question?
Yeah, so, we often hear, you have to cultivate more goodness. Mm-hmm. My question is, but you can also get attached to that, and ultimately you can also get attached to the mode of goodness.
Sure.
You cannot stay there. If you try to stay there, you're going to fall down again at some point.
Okay. so this is why he said in that answer, later on we will discuss how to even go beyond the model goodness. The idea is that we come to at least to the platform of model goodness, then there's a possibility of going beyond. Right? That's the point. That's the point. Yes, we do.
I think also for clarification, some of the Mataji's wear whites when the husband has passed.
Okay, so that's a different thing altogether. So there's a cultural thing where when a husband is passed away, then obviously you don't wear the tilak, the husband, the marriage sign but you wear a sign of widow. And that's what happens is more of a simpler dress.
Mm-hmm. That is also the red dog is also a cultural thing, and I heard it's not unified, and it's I never.
It depends on the type of red. There's two parts. First is on the parting of the hair. There's a kumkum, the vermilion, red vermilion powder that they put as a sign of marriage, somebody who's wedded, and the red dot. And they have a special gold or black beads, Mangal Sutra. Mangal means auspicious, Sutra means a sign that they are married. Like
also the thing.
Also the bangles and so on like that. So different things denote that somebody is married. And for the men there is a ring. Generally men is more simpler, but because beauty should be decorated, that's why beauty is decorated like that.
And I think a good example is Kadambaka Swami Nishani. She wore white.
Yeah.
I think when he went
when he passed away, when he went to sannyas. Because sannyas means you are renouncing all your material attachments. And that's everything, including the material world. Because your mind, words and body are all dedicated to simply Krishna consciousness, to spiritual activity. As soon as you take sannyas like that. Yes.
Just a quick one. There is a Kshetra sannyas in ISKCON? This exists?
Some do.
Oh, really?
For example, those, especially those who are not so well. Giriraj Maharaj is one example.
So after.
So in Santa Barbara, he has a very nice center. Also, more recently, Bhakti Rasamika Maharaj, disciple of Radhanath Maharaj, sannyas. He is also in Belgaum, somewhere in India, because his health hasn't been well.
Oh, really?
He was almost about to take, being allowed to take disciples, but then his health suffered. So then he took Kshetra sannyas. So he doesn't travel much, too far, but he generally is placed on. He's built a wonderful temple where he is.
He looks very young.
He's also looks very young. He's young, but because of his health, he is preaching online a lot. So he's reaching out in that way.
So there is like an official Kshetra sannyas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Kutichaka sannyas? I don't know much about that because I have not come across the term. I've heard it once before, but I have not heard so much about that. Would you like to explain? Do you know much about it?
You took sannyas, but you stay not far from your house.
It's a stade.
Kutircha, yes.
It's a stage, yeah. Yeah, you live separately from
dans une couture,
yeah.
Mais la femme, elle te donne à manger, les enfants.
Yeah. I remember now.
This is one of the stages of sannyas.
That's right. This is a step-by-step process. And I think it is said that if the sannyasi was married, the wife still has a duty to provide foodstuffs for the sannyasi, because they don't have to go madhukari, madhukari as a Kutichak sannyas. Thank you for reminding me. Very nice. So there you see there are different phases of sannyasi, different like that. So it's not like you're going straight in and then this is what you have to do. You're not like as soon as you're such youngster like Keshava Swami at 40 years old, taking sannyas and then traveling the world, having suddenly within like a week or 2 weeks manifests a whole team of technologists, and then literally his social media profile just went from 5 to million like this. It's like instantly almost practically. So everyone has a different purpose. Right? We talked about purpose before. This is why purpose is so important. Whatever he says, he does. He's the word of he's a man of his word, as I say. Okay, let's carry on. So then that was the T aspect
on a parlé
of our
du T, maintenant on va parler du R.
Now we're going into how the three modes are constantly racing for our attention, or racing for binding us.
Ça c'est la course à la prééminence. Comment les trois modes de la nature, ils essayent de prendre le dessus sur l'autre.
I'm not giving you any permission to This is a horse racing.
Ça c'est une course.
It's more of an English thing, I think.
It's an English thing, yes. Prominence for race for prominence. Yeah? So they are constantly binding us in different modes, in different ropes, like that. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so would you like to read?
Ok, verset 10.
Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and
Parfois le mode d'influence de la vertu domine les autres goodness. Parfois c'est celui de la passion ou celui de l'ignorance qui l'emporte. Ainsi, ô descendants de Bharat, jamais entre les gunas ne cesse la lutte pour la suprématie.
So that's how it is. Verse 10 talks about how which are dominant dependence on what we allow into our lives and what we give importance to. So whichever one takes dominance,
celui qui prend la dominance, c'est celui qu'on laisse faire en fait.
We can let our mind loose and say, yeah, do whatever you want. And generally what the mind will do, unbridled mind, will always cause
c'est en fait ce à quoi on donne de l'importance dans notre vie.
So idle mind is our worst enemy, becomes our enemy. So therefore, if we allow it, moral ignorance will come in all the time. So don't let your mind
si on laisse notre mental gérer notre vie, il va nous mener à la mode de l'ignorance. D'utiliser l'intelligence pour contrôler le mental.
Et
laisser en fait Krishna conduire. Servez les sens de Krishna.
So senses of Krishna and our senses are then satisfied like that.
Okay. So this is
the fluctuation part of the modes. At different times in our life, the modes act.
Dans différents moments de notre vie.
At different times in the week and different times in the day, which we talked about before. Sometimes people say, I'm having a bad day.
Les modes ils fluctuent. Donc l'influence des modes peut changer à différents moments de notre vie, à différents moments de la semaine, à différents moments de la journée.
And then stood up on the wrong foot. Is that a German saying or?
Yeah.
Okay. In French also?
Ah, se lever du mauvais pied.
Got out of the wrong side of the bed is English.
Because that's where they sleep against the wall, they bang their head.
But then the French saying is that you stood up on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I woke up for left.
And the left foot. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, same saying in Dutch.
Okay. Even in Dutch is the same saying.
Yeah, really. You got up a bit on the wrong leg.
Wrong leg.
So you try to be careful to wake up on the right.
On the right leg. Yes. I sometimes just jump out of bed, so because that's better for me. My back, jump out of bed. And that could be just the influence of the mode of passion and ignorance coming over us. At some point, goodness will come during the day. If we start our day earlier and earlier, we know that those hours are in the mode of goodness. We talked about hours last time.
Plus on commence notre journée tôt, plus c'est simple d'être dans le mode de la vertu.
Sometimes also modes are fluctuating at different times of the week.
Parfois, les modes fluctuent également à différents moments de la semaine, à différents moments de la journée.
The other aspect is people often ask why it is bad habits are easy to form and good habits are harder to form.
Pourquoi est-il plus facile de former des mauvaises habitudes? Pourquoi Krishna il a fait les choses comme ça?
So, for example, we like to all get addicted to chocolate.
On aime tous être addicts au chocolat. Si vous donnez un peu de chocolat à quelqu'un, après c'est spécialement petite suite. Je ne dis pas que tout le monde est comme ça, mais en général, c'est comme ça.
Everybody would like to sort of get habituated. Why do we, get attracted to so bad habits so quickly?
That's a good question.
Thank you. No,
it is a good question.
No, it's true.
Question from the.
It's a trigger to pleasure.
It's a trigger for our sense gratification.
Yes.
Yeah, completely. So whereas good ones are really hard to form. For example, going to the gym.
Et pourquoi les bonnes habitudes sont-elles difficiles à prendre? Par exemple, lire, c'est une bonne habitude, mais c'est dur à former. Pourquoi?
Unless you really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So it's on a spectrum. Like some people enjoy that, some people won't. But majority becomes like a difficult thing to do. So we imagine a seesaw like this.
Donc on imagine une balançoire comme ça.
And then we write PI here.
PI d'un côté.
And then we write G here.
Et G d'un côté.
Because of the certain incline, this is an incline like this is an incline.
Yeah? Ça c'est une inclinaison.
If we have water going down this incline, did I get this right? Hang on a second, I'll make sure it's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right, okay. If we have the water going from here like this, it's going to go down this, isn't it?
Si on a l'eau qui vient, elle va venir comme ça. Elle va naturellement couler de ce sens.
If we have a bucket here, the water will go inside this bucket.
Si on a un seau là, peu importe où on met l'eau, ça va descendre de ce côté.
Okay? This is question mark now.
So it's because of gravity, that's the force.
So gravity is there, but inclination is incline is there. Gravity is like this, if you just didn't have the incline, it's just going to go straight down. If you have got the incline, it's going to go down like this, okay? If we change the incline in the opposite way, if we change it like this, then it's going to go in the opposite way, into the goodness area. Passion and ignorance and goodness.
D'un côté, il y a la passion et l'ignorance, d'un côté, il y a la vertu. Mais dès qu'on change notre inclination, alors ça va de l'autre sens.
So, in accordance to the inclination, also known as our psycho-physical makeup, our habits.
D'après notre nature
based on our habits,
physique
we have that
et
inclination.
psychologique,
How we form
d'après
habits,
les habitudes qu'on a formées, on aura une inclinaison.
2 minutes ago.
Par nos actions et nos pensées.
Actions are formed by
Thoughts.
words, thoughts. Our words, our self-talk form actions. And then actions over time develops our habit. And habits develop our character. And character develops our destiny. So, thinking, feeling, willing. If our thoughts are pure,
penser,
our actions are pure,
ressentir
our character is pure.
et notre
It becomes like
volonté.
that. Then we just change our inclination, change our thought patterns, change our mindset to be in a different inclination. There's a switch here, good, bad. Change the switch to good. That's it.
Il y a un bouton derrière, c'est bien et mauvais. C'est à nous de changer.
Find it, that's all. Press the switch to good, and then you're done. So that basic point is that we need to change our inclination and embrace goodness. So all of us have to think very deeply. This is another really good ability to nurture in our psychology. Start thinking deeply. And what does that mean? Start thinking deeply.
Qu'est-ce que ça signifie de penser profondément?
Thinking
consciously, okay. Consciously, so that's just becoming conscious. That's just becoming
aware.
Space out and becoming aware. But that's just awareness. What is it to go deeper in that awareness? What do we have to do to go deeper in our awareness? When we say deeper, what does it mean?
Qu'est-ce que ça signifie d'aller plus profondément?
My
Again, so going back to your purpose, looking at your purpose, defining your purpose first,
notre but, pourquoi on veut faire quelque chose.
That gives you one thing.
Wow!
Confirmed, you see, purpose, we require purpose. Even the wind wants to know.
Wow.
Let's put a plant there, yes. Thank you. You see, I have a friend now also teaching me, facilitating the course.
50 kilometers hour. The wind.
The wind?
This afternoon.
Yeah, they say 50, yeah. Well, the birds and the outside nature will have fun. So we were talking about, just my thought patterns. We're talking about purpose, we're talking about creating a habit. Yes?
Yeah, I was going to say reflecting on what you're doing. What Mataji said.
So, Pishakirti Mataji said, yes.
Yeah.
So, purpose,
purpose. Thinking back, you're reflecting.
But how do you reflect back? What is the action to reflect back?
What Mataji said.
Which is what?
That was thinking, why you're doing something.
Okay, so reflecting on that. Okay.
Yeah, the reason you're doing something.
Okay.
Yes, purpose.
Senior activities, advanced activities, in this case you have to take deeper thinking into action. Some senior advanced can open your mind to different options.
Okay, so this is where you're getting closer, options. When we are doing certain activity, or even reading, or whatever, when they say, okay, go deeper in your thinking, churn the subject matter. What does this churning the subject matter mean? You're breaking down the individual component parts of whatever you're doing or whatever you've read. So if you read one line or a paragraph, you're thinking, okay, let's see what is in here that's really coming out to me. It could be something about renunciation, it could be something about relationship building, it could be something, whatever. Okay, how am I in my relationship building? Let me write down the things about my relationships. Let me just see, okay, I'm good at doing this way in my relationship, and so on and so forth, like that. And so, when you're analytical, Sankhya is another word, Sanskrit word for analytical.
Quand on est analytique,
then what happens? You're analyzing your actions.
On analyse nos actions.
And you're breaking down the component parts of those activities that you've done.
Chaque composant de ce qu'on a fait.
To make it pure for you.
Pour le rendre pur.
That way, you're going deeper in the thought patterns.
Ainsi, on va plus profond dans notre façon de penser. Une très bonne façon, c'est d'avoir un journal. Un journal à la fin de la journée, ça peut être que 2 lignes, 3 lignes. Par exemple, aujourd'hui, mon mental, il était ainsi. Vous écrivez 3 choses. Où est-ce qu'il était votre mental? Qu'est-ce qu'il faisait? Vous l'écrivez.
Mes actions étaient ainsi.
Et j'avais de la gratitude pour cela. Juste ces 3 choses, ça prend que 5 minutes.
There is a little nice app called One Day. In this One Day app, instead of doing things at the end of the day, journaling, it allows you to just put a single sentence or a couple of words through the day of the journaling. One day. My thoughts are like this right now. Boom, write it down on your One Day app. Done. And by the end of it, you have your whole journal done already. You just really, okay.
It includes the times and stuff.
Yeah, it includes everything. It's called One Day app.
Helpful.
Nice app. I've used in the past. And like that. So yeah, change our inclination. Okay, I'm going to move on a bit more now. So yeah, we need to change our inclination. And so therefore, goodness is the platform that we need to cultivate.
La bonté est une plateforme qu'on doit développer.
Mental and physical health is better because we are cultivating more to goodness. Our achievements have long-term vision, discipline and determination. Always have a wisdom in both material and spiritual.
niveau de la bonté, de la santé mentale et physique, une vision à long terme, une discipline, une détermination.
And naturally it will give us the happier individual. You become naturally happy because you're cultivating modes of goodness. And then that forms your character. The more you cultivate this, the more of an upliftment of the character that you'll get.
Si vous avez une bonne santé mentale et
you see these
physique,
examples over and over again.
vous voulez avoir la discipline, la détermination,
He spent 20 years, 18 years, 20 years
développer une sagesse,
this mode of thinking.
et ensuite la sagesse apaise et clarifie. Et en fait, ça nous rend plus heureux et ça, ainsi on peut développer un caractère.
Because he's speaking the language of the mode of goodness and pure goodness. Yeah? So therefore, first become conscious, then Krishna conscious. This is a very famous term here in Krishna
Devenez d'abord
consciousness.
conscient et ensuite conscient de Krishna.
Consciousness is an art also. We can either be space out
Être conscient, c'est aussi un art.
or conscious.
On peut être
Space
absent
out or space in.
ou présent.
Yes,
does this really in practicality mean? Because I heard also a lot, and Eric was always wondering, yeah, but we are practicing so-called Krishna consciousness, but we are not even conscious. So, yeah, how practically practice consciousness?
Yes. What does consciousness even mean? What does conscious mean? Yes, Vijay.
Awareness. It means being aware of what you're doing, what you're thinking.
Be present.
What you were thinking, what you're going to try and do.
So being present, rather than worrying about the future and
être présent, donc c'est pas se faire du souci pour le futur et pas se lamenter du passé. Être conscient de son activité et faire le mieux dans cette activité. Être conscient et faire le mieux.
So sometimes what happens is that we become mechanical in our activity.
Des fois, on est mécanique dans notre activité.
Quickly just do this, quickly, more passion.
On veut faire les choses vite dans le mode de la passion. Au lieu d'être mécanique, on change à la volonté.
That's the first step. Then the second step is to think, who are we doing this for? Back to our purpose. What is our purpose for the connection? Why are we doing it? Oh, actually, I'm doing this for my relationship with Krishna.
Pourquoi je le fais?
Because I love him.
Parce que je le fais pour ma relation avec Krishna.
Okay,
Pourquoi je le fais? Parce que je veux l'aimer.
Then come back. I love Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If he's too far, come back. I love Prabhupada. That's why I'm doing it.
S'il est trop loin, bah, il y a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, il y a Nityananda, il y a Prabhupada.
We know you.
Les disciples de Prabhupada disaient, on ne connaît pas Krishna, mais on te connaît toi. On te connaît toi sur la Prabhupada. Donc on veut avoir une relation avec vous, réciproquer notre amour. Je le fais pour Prabhupada. S'il est trop loin, alors on le fait pour les dévots qui sont autour de nous.
I'm cooking for them because I want them to be happy.
Give them something nourishing.
Why am I cooking? Because I know that they are all devotees of Krishna.
Je sais qu'ils sont tous dévots de Krishna.
Because they love Krishna.
Parce qu'ils aiment Krishna.
I find difficulty in loving Krishna because
je trouve la difficulté d'approcher Krishna.
That love will cultivate in me also.
Mais en le servant, je veux aussi cultiver cet amour.
Right. So those are the steps. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. When I keep coming back to awareness, you can't have any awareness if you're not asking yourself questions. I'll give you an example, like japa. That can become very mechanical, what you spoke about now. So sometimes during japa, I catch myself thinking, oh, what am I doing at the moment? How am I doing it? What am I thinking about? Those kind of questions make me more conscious about how I'm doing my japa.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're catching yourself time and time again, if you bring your mind back to the activity, because the mind has a tendency of getting bored very quickly. That's why
le mental a une tendance de devenir
WhatsApp, all these things are so
ennuyé très vite.
Because it's 9 seconds now.
C'est pour ça qu'en fait les vidéos rapides ils sont populaires. Parce qu'en fait le mental il est très il est ennuyé très très vite. C'est pour ça qu'il y a des vidéos et des choses très rapides maintenant, quelques secondes.
It's the mindset which led to that technology.
Yeah, that's because we're not controlling the mind.
Yeah, of course.
We're letting the mind just do what it wants to do. Right. It's unbridled mind, which is the worst thing that we can do. So,
but that's confused. I was just saying, well, no, it's not because technology, because our mind led to that in the first place.
But if the technology wasn't present, like we showed earlier, 1990 and 2000s, we saw
well, it's a spiral, right?
But if the technology wasn't there in the first place, if Steve Jobs allowed his technology to be in his own house, his children would be also same addicted. But he himself, though he gave the world that technology, he stopped it in his own house.
Yeah, so why? Why did he give it to the world?
That was his job.
To make money.
We can ask him. We can actually ask him.
That's
when
just
we
an
meet him
example.
Wherever we're going to meet him.
I would love to ask you.
That's just an example of
why? Of course, it's an example. It's not something that you just give me questions of the topic, but the actual variety of the point I'm trying to make is the purpose you find and the steps. You asked me for the steps, I gave you the steps, right?
Yeah, no, for me it's still just a tool. And can you use the TV now? It's technology.
Sorry?
You can watch TV shows on the TV, or you can do this, right? We can watch TV.
Yeah, we can use it for spiritual activities,
yeah,
or we can use it for mundane activities. But that's the choice, right?
Yeah, same with the phone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then, are we getting addicted to the phone? Oh, look, we're watching something nice on YouTube, for example, some class or something, and then suddenly there's a pop-up comes up. It's very interesting. This is happening in the world right now. The war has started. Oh my God, let's have a look. It could be completely lying.
But that's why I don't.
And we're like.
That's why I don't use social media anymore, personally.
I gave up social media as soon as I joined Krishna, or the ashram at least. But then now I use it only for messaging, Krishna conscious things, because I'm giving out also. It's basically a form of preaching. That's it. That's why I use when I purposely don't look at it. If anything comes up, I just put the phone like this or turn the screen down like this. And until it's gone, then it's not finished.
You see how many people moan at you when there's no Wi-Fi, Simon?
That means because they want what they want to do. All sorts of nonsense. Okay, what we're going to do now to actually drive this point home about a balanced life, because all this comes into having a balanced life actually. To have a balanced life,
avoir une vie équilibrée.
A proper consciousness in our
Donc il faut y avoir une certaine conscience.
How do we balance this? Because your questions are right. It's answered by this next quiz. So now what we need to do, what I'd like you to do, is actually, I'm going to give you, before we come into this, which is just 3 pages, and we're going to the next section, chapter 15. Okay, let's do the quiz and I'll give you a break. Okay?
On va faire le quiz, après il y aura une pause.
You need to answer. If the answer to your question is yes, you need to give yourself a point. Okay? What is it? If the answer is yes, you give yourself a point. If the answer is no, you give yourself no points, 0. If the answer is yes, you give 1 point. If the answer is no, it's 0.
Si la réponse est oui, il y a 1 point. Si la réponse est non, c'est 0. Et à la fin, on verra combien de points vous avez.
Because points make prizes!
Vous allez recevoir un prix, non.
Points doesn't make prizes. Okay, count how many yes answers you would give to the following questions. Okay? Ready?
Donc comptez combien de oui il y a dans vos réponses.
Alright, question 1. I don't read spiritual books on a daily basis.
Je ne lis pas de livres spirituels quotidiennement. Ça, c'est votre propre, je ne vous demande pas.
And then there'll be results based on what you want to do. Okay? So write it down in a book or on your phone or whatever you want to use your device.
If I don't read, I give a what?
This is a statement.
Je ne lis pas de livres spirituels quotidiennement. Quotidiennement, tous les jours. Si tu lis tous les jours, c'est non. Si tu lis pas tous les jours, c'est oui.
Okay. If the statement is true for me, you give yes.
Half a point?
No, perfect. 1 or 0. Don't make it complicated. Simple for simple. I have a simple mind, or try to be. Okay, I usually end each day with a huge list of things left to do.
Je termine généralement chaque journée avec une énorme liste de choses à faire.
You writing down? Yes, no? Thinking?
Yeah, no? To write it?
Yeah.
You just need to count how many
No,
lists.
because there's loads of questions.
Il y a
So you have
beaucoup.
to write
Je
one,
comprends rien.
two.
Est-ce que tu termines ta journée avec une liste des choses que tu n'as pas faites? Que tu dis,
J'en sais rien.
Ah, c'est certainement qu'il y a
you don't know the answer.
What do you mean by
il y a des choses à faire.
You don't have list.
You forgot.
T'as fait tout ce que tu devais faire.
You forgot.
On peut répondre à celle-là si tu veux. We can answer for you.
Okay. One. Quickly, come on.
So if
Don't worry. If
okay.
this is a statement, I don't read spiritual books on a daily basis.
Est-ce que tu lis tous les jours des livres spirituels?
Yes. One point.
Non. Donc
I
oui.
usually end
Donc
each
yes.
day with a huge list of things to do. Yes. One point. No.
Est-ce que tu termines ta journée avec des choses à faire, des choses que tu as oublié de faire ou que tu n'as pas fait ou que tu dois faire le lendemain? Tu vois?
Yeah.
Donc tu as déjà 2 yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The question is, this is a statement for you as individuals. Everybody who doesn't understand? Martin doesn't understand, Myers doesn't understand. So this is a statement for you.
It's because it's in negative, sometimes people are
That's
lost.
okay.
Okay.
You say, I don't read books on a daily basis. And it's true. Yes, I don't read books on a daily basis. I only read books every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but not daily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if that's true, that's real,
If this is true,
then it's
Yes.
a yes.
yeah,
That means 1 point.
yeah.
Donc, je
Then
ne
the
lis
next
pas de
question
livres
is,
spirituels
I
quotidiennement,
usually
oui
end
ou non.
each day with a
Je
huge
termine
list of
généralement
things to left
chaque
to do.
journée
I
avec une
plan
énorme
my
liste de
day
choses à faire, oui ou non.
with some things to do, and at the end of the day, I still have some things to do, and then I have some more things to do. I left with a long list. Okay, yes. Or I plan to do this many things, and I finish my things. I don't have anything to do. So 0. So the answer is no. Otherwise, it's yes. Okay, you get it? All right, number 3. I feel uncomfortable and uneasy when I have time off and no pressing responsibilities. Maybe you can translate
Oui.
out loud.
Je me sens mal à l'aise lorsque j'ai du temps libre et aucune responsabilité urgente.
Yes, true.
Okay, next question. Where? I regularly have a huge backlog of emails or people to contact or messages to answer. On your WhatsApp.
J'ai régulièrement beaucoup d'emails pas répondus, de personnes à contacter, de messages à répondre en fait.
It sounds more like a company though.
No, I mean, it can be anyone. These days, everybody has emails.
What about the bank?
Tu vois, toutes les choses que tu dois faire en fait et que tu dis non, je le ferai plus tard, en fait tu le fais jamais, ça reste dans ton mental.
It's not like in your future or in your past.
No, but for
Now,
example, for the bank account or the mutual.
Yeah, any.
sure, that's also there, but that's not a huge list. It's not a huge backlog. It's 1 or 2 in a year. Right? Okay? I feel like all my energy is taken up by work and career. Now, obviously, your work is also some services that you do, leaving little energy for anything else. And okay, this one is for work, for those working outside, living outside and working. Fair enough. So this one we can say, okay, it's not really applicable to everybody either.
J'ai l'impression que toute mon énergie est absorbée par le travail et la carrière, ce qui me laisse peu d'énergie pour autre chose.
Yeah, service. Because your service could be so many that you have little energy for everything else.
Par exemple, tu fais beaucoup de services et tu as peu d'énergie pour faire autre chose.
We're using most of our time in just our service rather than balancing our life. Yeah? Okay? Move on. I feel my spiritual practices are mechanical.
J'ai l'impression que mes pratiques spirituelles sont mécaniques.
Sometimes.
Yes or no? Yes.
Over an average, 1 month. Sometimes no, sometimes it's over an average of 1 month. Was it mostly with yes or no?
No.
Then give yourself 1.
I mean, no, it's all that, but it's not very rich. It's like.
You could half of them.
No, you can't.
No,
1 or 0. Okay, move on. I consciously avoid spending time with others because I have too many things to do.
J'évite consciemment de passer du temps avec les autres parce que j'ai trop de choses à faire.
Okay.
Trop de choses à faire, toi?
I rarely reflect, introspect, scrutinize my life direction.
Je réfléchis, j'introspecte, je fais de l'introspection, je scrute rarement la direction de ma vie. En fait, rarement je pense en fait à ce que je dois faire, mon but dans la vie, la direction que je prends dans ma vie.
I rarely do charity work or activities which are for the benefit of people I don't know. So this is now, when we're here, when we have guests coming, sometimes they don't know what they're doing and we are like there, I just walk away. But we do something for them. Oh, how can I help you? How can I serve you?
Outside of your service.
Outside of our service, yeah.
Je fais rarement du travail caritatif ou des activités qui profitent à des personnes que je ne connais pas. En dehors de notre service qu'on nous a donné, est-ce qu'on prend notre temps pour les autres en fait?
Which is beneficial to others, definitely. Or charity work, you could do some charity. Okay, there's a tsunami in this country or whatever. Okay, I'm going to give some funds for that because they just had a bad thing. Or there's a cow protection going on in Vrindavan, whatever, like this, you know. Or I'm traveling to Vrindavan, I'm going to do some charity work there, I'm going to do some seva there, seva to the ground.
I'm sorry, I've really completely lost the plot. Yes is 1 and no is 0.
Yes.
You get this right at the top. Yes equals 1, no equals 0. 10. I find it hard to sleep.
J'ai du mal à dormir.
Enough sleep.
J'ai du mal à dormir, je ne dors pas assez.
Not only do you don't get enough sleep, but you find it hard to actually go take rest.
This is the most difficult question.
C'est dur pour vous de dormir ou alors vous dormez pas assez.
But I don't get enough either.
So yes.
So yes.
I don't find it hard to sleep.
Yeah, it says or, right? Slash is or. I find it hard to sleep or don't get enough sleep. Yeah. Oh, I have lost a friendship over anger or failing to respect the other person.
J'ai perdu une amitié à cause de la colère ou du manque de respect envers une autre personne.
I mean, you could take it from your spiritual life onwards, because previously we weren't really on this path. So our behaviors were very different.
Comptez à partir de quand vous avez commencé votre vie spirituelle.
So in the last 5 years or so, something like that, you could say.
On peut dire dans les 5 dernières années, par exemple.
But reflect on the choice, whether it was over anger, whether it was over respecting the other person, or whether it was something completely different. If it was something completely different, like, okay, they were abusive or they were different things, then it's a natural thing to just leave association.
Bien sûr, si c'était une personne qui était abusive ou qui causait du tort, ça c'est pas, ça n'a pas à voir avec ça. Mais si on était vraiment en colère par rapport à une raison différente, et comment on a manqué de respect, on a perdu cette personne. Le 12, je pense rarement à la spiritualité où je remets en question les choses qui m'entourent d'un point de vue spirituel. Ça veut dire on pense que au niveau de la conception matérielle de l'existence.
Okay, when friends ring me, I rarely have the time to have a friendly chat with them.
Quand des amis m'appellent, j'ai rarement le temps d'avoir une conversation amicale avec eux.
Never used to be the case.
You've given away your answer. You've given away your answer.
I don't care.
I feel like I complain and find faults more than being grateful and positive.
J'ai l'impression de me plaindre et de trouver des défauts plutôt que d'être reconnaissant et positif.
14 questions. Last set of questions. I have health issues which are related to stress, anxiety, or irregular habits.
J'ai des problèmes de santé liés au stress, à l'anxiété ou à des habitudes irrégulières.
I have not taken a holiday in a year. Now, holiday means also a visit to a spiritual Dham, or even taking time out from your day-to-day usual services, doing something completely different. That's also a holiday.
Je n'ai pas pris de vacances depuis 1 an.
As they say in English, a change is as good as rest. Changing your environment
Il est dit un changement de notre environnement, c'est aussi bien que de se reposer.
My partner or children sometimes complain that I don't have enough quality time for them. Now this includes your friends or your family members, like that.
Mon partenaire ou mes enfants ou mes amis se plaignent parfois que je n'ai pas assez de temps de qualité pour eux.
It could be your
Non, mais il l'a dit après.
parents, your siblings, that you're not giving them enough time. I don't have time to spend on self-development, exploring things I'm interested in.
Je n'ai pas de temps à consacrer au développement personnel ou à l'exploration des choses qui m'intéressent.
If you say yes, then give yourself a point. If you say no, then you say no points. I think finally, if an emergency comes up in my life, I find it very difficult to adjust.
Si une urgence survient dans ma vie, j'ai beaucoup de mal à m'adapter.
It could be somebody's unwell, somebody's died, or some health
Ça
issue.
peut être quelqu'un qui va mal, quelqu'un qui est mort, quelqu'un qui a des problèmes de santé, des crises.
And you're overwhelmed by it.
Et alors, ça vous dépasse, quoi. Ça vous affecte beaucoup. Je ne savez pas comment vous adapter. Et finalement, les dernières, la plupart de mes interactions avec les gens consistent simplement à faire avancer les choses, à que les choses soient faites.
Okay, now you just count up the number of.
Can we?
Second. So, if I say you have some certain things to do, and you need somebody's help, you're only going to them because you want help for that thing to be done, rather than, how are you? How's your health? What's happening? Along with that, oh, would you help me to do this? But it's not just that. I want this done. Let's just do it, and we're moving on. And that's our interactions only. But if our interactions is, okay, I'm interacting like this, but then I'm also interacting in this other way. It's a more of a balanced interaction.
To be personal.
More personal, yes. Okay, count up your points. How is your
Maintenant,
balance?
comptez comment est votre...
Combien
de points vous avez? Comment est votre équilibre?
There is 2 points that I am not sure.
Okay.
But,
lequel?
Je crois que c'est le 3 et le 13.
Which question number?
The 3?
Ouais, ça, j'en sais, j'ai pas réussi.
The 3? Third.
Non.
Ah.
Non, ça, j'ai dit non.
La 3?
Ouais.
Dans laquelle alors?
I feel uncomfortable and uneasy when
C'est la 3? You don't remember.
Means you're a bit more or something.
Okay, you're counting up. You know your totals?
Yes.
Yeah? Everybody know their totals? Okay, let's move on. Because I don't have much time left.
De toute façon, là, on continue.
Okay, so how is your balance? Ready?
Alors, vous êtes prêts?
No, to 7. If you have 0 or 7, keep going. Good work.
0 à 7, continuez.
Wonderful.
Bon boulot.
Wonderful. You're in the mode of goodness.
I didn't know. I don't notice it.
8 to 14.
8 à 14.
Slight adjustment.
Is this for no? No?
Votre équilibre de vie a besoin d'ajustement.
If you have between 0 to 7 yeses, up to 7 yeses, keep going, no problems, carry on.
Okay.
If you have between 8 to 14 yeses, then life requires a bit of a balance, adjustment. If you have 15 to 20,
get out of here.
Danger.
Danger. De 15 à 20, danger.
Now, I'm not going to look at that. Now, if you want discussion around your sports, we can do that separately.
Si vous voulez parler de ça, on peut le faire séparément. On va pas de façon individuelle, on va pas en parler maintenant.
This is just basically a viewpoint. That was Keshav Swami's done this. So, obviously, this is very good. Clearly, this is basically goodness.
Ça c'est la bonté.
Okay. You need to just take a look. Okay. This is passion. And ignorance is our behavior basically. And this is way of the chart.
La bonté, la passion et l'ignorance. Et le dernier, c'est vraiment, là, c'est le danger.
Okay. So there's a lot of things you need to adjust. So balance is at different levels. Balance, we need to have a balance between our physical health.
Donc il faut un équilibre physique pour la santé.
How much physical activity we're doing and how much still activity doing. And in that still activity we're doing, what are we doing in that still activity?
What is still activity?
Still basically you're not doing physical, basically it's related to health. Physical activity and not so physical.
C'est le contraire d'actif, quoi.
Ah, ok.
You're not active.
Okay.
Like action activities. You're set. You are more sedentary.
Passive.
And you're more reflective.
Okay.
You're doing certain different activities. You're doing a balance. So that needs to be balanced.
Donc il faut un équilibre entre les activités physiques actives et tranquilles, ouais.
So active is when we are working, doing things,
ou de repos, quoi.
and striving. But we also need time when we pull back, when we are still, when we are realigning ourselves. So in translation is active on page 16. Active is when we are working, doing things, achieving,
active,
and striving.
C'est travailler pour faire des choses, réussir et s'efforcer à faire des choses. Mais il nous faut aussi du temps pour prendre du recul, pour rester tranquille et immobile, pour nous recentrer sur nous. Il faut les deux physiquement. Il faut avoir des activités physiques, mais il faut aussi se poser des fois et être en réflexion. Il faut les deux, il faut un équilibre. Au niveau mental, il faut le temps pour les relations avec les gens. Interagir, se ressourcer en leur compagnie. Mais il faut aussi du temps pour soi. Donc il faut un équilibre entre un temps pour interagir et se ressourcer en compagnie des autres, mais aussi il faut un temps pour soi. Et au niveau de la spiritualité, il faut une connexion. Il faut un équilibre entre nos obligations matérielles et nos obligations spirituelles. Entre notre pratique spirituelle et nos devoirs dans le monde.
If your spiritual duties mean that you're disconnected from the world, that also leads to problem. If you're only doing
si vos pratiques spirituelles font que vous êtes déconnecté du monde, ça c'est aussi un problème.
Okay. Alright, I'm going to give you a break.
Maintenant, on va prendre une pause.
5 minutes.
Ouais.
Thank you, Samantha. Alright, so we're back again. Our translator isn't back yet. Let me see if he's around.
Il faut commencer, c'est ça.
Commencer quoi?
Il a enregistré, il faut commencer. You can start, everybody understand.
Bah non, les dévots sont pas là.
It's for the online devotees, because we're recording it for online people.
Les dévots sont not there.
Ah, mais vous voyez.
Ça c'est pour nous, eux, ils sont partis, les dévots.
Non, mais vous voyez la replay.
Il y en a 4 qui sont pas là.
Après, c'est enregistré, c'est bien.
C'est terrible. Qu'est-ce que c'est allé faire?
Ben, elle est venue avec son bébé,
Les tâches à la
Okay, I have to start. Alright, so next part is actions in the mode itself, verses 15 to 45. So what are our activities? So Krishna has talked about the 3 modes of nature. He has given us a delineation of how each mode looked like. Race for prominence, where Krishna has explained that it's not one-dimensional. These modes mix and are constantly competing, and our interaction with these modes is constantly evolving. And then we have to try to cultivate the mode of goodness. So now Krishna is going to explain our actions in the different modes. What are our actions? What should we be doing? How the modes play out within us and external to us. Yeah. In this section, I've included some things from chapter 17, because remember this chapters is 14 and 17. And hence we're looking at chapters 14 and 17 together. And so actions in the modes. The table below will show us the different modes and what they look like in different kinds of things. For example, our destination in the afterlife is in different modes. Mode of passion, goodness, and ignorance. So what does our afterlife look like? When we are our existing life is in the mode of ignorance, passion, or goodness. Mainly, if we're in the mode of ignorance, then we go into lower planets or animal species. If we're in a mode of passion, then we come back to the earthly planet. And if we're in a mode of goodness, we go into heavenly planets. So, but ultimately, we want to come out of this goodness altogether, and go to pure goodness to go back to the spiritual world, like that. Our worship also, if it's in the mode of ignorance, like worshipping ghosts and those kind of beings, and spirits and ghosts, then our endeavor or our afterlife will be also in ghosts and spiritual bodies. Ghosts and spirits. Spirits is not spiritual bodies, but spirits. Passion, powerful humans or false gods. What that means is that somebody pretending to be a god. Oh, I have this power. I must be God. Again, that's in the mode of passion. And then goodness is demigods or impersonalists, Brahmajyoti or even heavenly planet. Food in the mode of ignorance. Now, we had it in the Be a Monk course with a little debate about mushrooms. And so talk about unclean, stale, putrid, decomposed, causes violence to others. That's all in the mode of foods in the mode of ignorance. Foods that are too bitter, sour, too salty, pungent, too rich, dry, or too hot, spicy, causes pain, distress, and disease. Foods in the mode of goodness increases life, gives strength, health, nourishing, sweet, juicy, and palatable are in the mode of goodness. But obviously we want to go beyond that. Ignorance, austerities, even the austerities that we perform, if they're in mode of, if they're performed for self-torture or harm to others, then they're in a mode of ignorance. If they're performed for gaining respect, honor, reverence, brings only unstable temporary results, that's in a mode of passion. But if they're done out of duty, according to scripture, with no expectation of reward, that's done in the mode of goodness. This is things like that. Okay?
There's only one thing that makes me question something, maybe I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
The worship in the mode of goodness, demigods and impersonal?
So impersonal is the Brahma Jyoti. So if your worship is in the mode of goodness only, then you go to the demigod's planet or into the effulgence of the Lord.
So we're doing it.
So we are going into pure goodness. That's why we want to go into the spiritual world. You just missed that.
Why is it goodness when it's like in between?
Because you are going beyond the material creation. You're going beyond that. You're not in the material realm, you're going beyond the material realm. Demigods is still in the material realm, where the birth, old age, disease and death happens. Also in the Brahma Jyoti, birth, old age, disease and things does happen, and we still have to come back, but it is better. But however, that's not the point. The point is to develop love and things like that. Charity, in the mode of ignorance, performed at an improper time and place without discrimination. Passion, performed to get something in return or in a begrudging mode.
Dans ce tableau, il nous montre à quoi ressemblent les modes dans différents types.
Goodness,
dans la charité, la renonciation
at the proper time and place with no expectation of material returns is the mode of goodness, but charity done out of unconditional love is in the pure goodness.
Performed at an improper time and place without discrimination, charity. What is
Donc la charité dans le mode de l'ignorance, c'est sans discrimination à une...
Giving up one's duties
La renonciation, enfin la renonciation dans le mode de l'ignorance, renoncer à ses devoirs.
Giving up one's duty, this is renunciation in the modes. Giving up one's duties because of fear or difficulty.
Renoncer à ses devoirs par peur ou difficulté, c'est dans la mode dans la passion.
Giving up attachment to result is in the mode of goodness. But performing renunciation for the service of society, for
mais renoncer à son devoir pour
pure goodness.
Parce qu'on veut offrir quelque chose de mieux, alors c'est dans la bonté.
We cannot go beyond dreaming. We have fearfulness of failure.
Les déterminations, dans le mode de l'ignorance, on ne peut pas aller au-delà des rêves, de la peur.
Si
on est dans la lamentation, la morosité, c'est le mode de l'ignorance. Si on est concentré sur les plaisirs matériels et sur nos avantages personnels, c'est dans le mode de la passion.
Passion fixed and focused upon securing material pleasures and benefits. If you're only looking at sense gratification, material benefits.
Donc, si vous cherchez que la gratification des sens, c'est le mode de la passion.
Determination is unbreakable, sustained by knowledge and sense of duty. My duty to do this, I take
elle est forte de détermination, soutenue et par connaissance, soutenue par la connaissance et par sens du devoir, alors c'est dans le mode de la vertu.
Somebody when I do this, that's in pure goodness.
It could move from left to right, couldn't it?
Yeah, of course. Like we said, we are being controlled by these three modes, and our
bien sûr, ça change tout le temps. Les modes de la vertu, ils sont
voilà.
Ils changent. Des fois, il y en a un qui nous contrôle plus que d'autres.
Don't let our mind go into that. That requires practice. I'm not saying it's easy. It requires practice and training.
Ça demande de la pratique et un entraînement du mental.
Be kept in that goodness.
Yeah, I think you can have a sense of duty at the same time as being fearful.
But what would you be fearful from?
Failure.
Why would you fear failure?
I'm just.
Why would you fear failure?
That's ego, I suppose.
Thank you. You got your answer?
Sometimes conditioning.
Of course it's conditioning. Because at the past when we fell, people laughed at us. That made us look silly. And that is not a nice feeling. The feeling, I'm just giving an example, it's not a nice feeling to be laughed at, be made a fool. And so people always think, oh, children at school, they were laughing at me when I didn't do this right. Because our training in education system is always to compete. You become class number 1, you got first, you're second, you're third. You're always taught how to compete against each other rather than cooperate with each other.
Yeah, but you also have a sense of duty, so you want to complete it. You're determined to complete something.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, there's a subtle difference there. I'm trying to explain. The subtle difference is, instead of competing in that duty, we cooperate in that duty, and collectively we move forward. Instead of individually competing and then completing the task. And when we fail individually. But if we fail, collective failure is not failure. You still moved ahead.
Yeah, but you're determined to do something by yourself or someone else.
But again, determination is, yes, you're determined, but again, you have to think about that determination. Is that determination to prove myself that I'm worthy, that I can do it? Or, and look, I did this, I want some
because you have a sense of duty.
Sure.
You can be fearful for that.
Yeah. The fear of not doing your duty, that's a different fear. But the fear of failure, that's a different fear.
Yeah, it's important to
distinguish. Yeah, it's important to distinguish. That's why we're raising it. Yes, Krishna?
Because actually we say failure is a pillar of success.
Yes.
That means we are detached, but we will do better next time.
And we learn from it. Yes, we learn from it. You get a distinction, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Right. Let's move on because there's time. And then finally, happiness in the mode.
Le bonheur dans les modes, donc dans l'ignorance, c'est le poison au début et à la fin. Dans la passion, c'est le nectar au début et poison à la fin. Et dans la bonté, c'est du poison au début et c'est du nectar à la fin. Et dans la pure vertu, au niveau transcendantal, c'est que du nectar au début et à la fin.
And then so therefore, when we now striving for that pure goodness, this is the pure life. And so,
et quand on va aller vers la pureté, la pure vertu, c'est ça la vraie vie. 14-26.
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Would you like to read? Maestro?
Celui qui tout entier s'absorbe dans le service de dévotion, sans jamais faillir, transcende aussitôt les modes d'influence de la nature matérielle et atteint le niveau du Brahman.
Realization. So, here Krishna says the whole idea is to go beyond the modes.
Donc ici, Krishna il explique que le but c'est d'aller au-delà des modes.
Go beyond the modes, the gunas, sa-gunam.
Sagunam, au-delà des modes de la nature.
Mode of goodness is like the airport. So when you
le mode de la bonté, c'est comme un aéroport.
Tours to India,
donc pour aller de Tours à Londres, déjà il faut se rendre à l'aéroport. Ensuite il faut aller dans l'avion. Pas juste rester dans là où ils vendent des produits. Si vous ratez votre vol, alors vous ne serez pas plus proche de votre destination, bien que vous êtes à l'aéroport. Donc l'aéroport est utile parce que c'est là où vous pouvez prendre votre vol pour aller à votre destination. De même, le mode de la vertu est utile. C'est comme un aéroport, sauf qu'il faut en sortir pour monter dans l'avion. Vous ne pouvez pas prendre l'avion depuis...
But similarly, we have to actually go.
On ne peut pas prendre l'avion depuis n'importe où. On ne peut pas le prendre d'ici, depuis ici, le château. Non, il faut qu'on aille vers le mode de la mode de vertu à l'aéroport. Et après, on peut prendre l'avion, aller au-delà des modes de la mode de la vertu, au-delà des modes de la nature matérielle. Donc Krishna il nous dit, allez au-delà des modes. Vivez dans la bonté. Faites cette connexion à Krishna et s'engager dans la bhakti. Donc emmener notre conscience dans la bonté. Et ensuite, on connecte cette bonté à Krishna. Avec ce mode de la bonté, on adore le Seigneur. Et on est engagé dans la bhakti aussi.
So, remember what you're doing at every point. It's about how you live, what you do, how you live, and how you engage in that bhakti. Okay. So a further clarification, we talked about this before. For example,
bon, ça, on a déjà vu, on va donner des exemples. Comment on emmène par rapport à dormir. Par dormir, comment on fait pour aller au-delà du monde de la bonté quand on dort.
If we utilize the Brahma Muhurta period, for example, yes, we could have a regulation during the day and wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, 7 in the morning, sure, what we used to do. When I used to work, I used to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, or sometimes 6:30. But now we're saying the period of time within any 24 hours is.
Donc déjà elle est dans la vertu, mais après, au-delà de ça, c'est de s'organiser pour se lever durant le Brahma Muhurta, durant la période de Brahma Muhurta.
4 o'clock, yeah. Before 4:30, this is pure goodness, more of pure goodness.
Donc se lever avant 4h30.
Because your sleep almost becomes a support to practice your meditation.
Parce que en fait, si vous faites ça et que vous vous levez pour le Brahma Muhurta, pour aller à un programme spirituel, pour offrir à Krishna.
So when you are I found this practically. I used to sleep for 8 hours before when I was working.
Avant, quand je travaillais, je dormais 8 heures.
5.5 or 6 hours max.
Maintenant, je dors 5h30, 6 heures maximum.
Because yesterday we got back at 10:30 in the night. I was still up to Mangalarti.
Hier, c'était différent parce qu'on est rentré tard, mais j'étais quand même là au Mangalarti.
But you adjust your day so that you allow yourself for a half an hour nap to catch up, or give your body the rest that is required. Once you train your body to do these things, it works.
Lorsque vous entraînez votre corps à faire ça, alors ça devient une habitude. Et ça continue votre caractère. Maintenant, quand je ne me lève pas durant le Brahma Muhurta, je me sens pas bien. Je sens que quelque chose manque.
Yeah, it's strange. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, I feel the same. Something's missing if I don't go, but sometimes also I feel like if I don't go to the bed late, something's missing because I didn't do something I wanted to do. So it's a bit twisted.
That's when it's like, okay, we can talk a little bit about that as a separate thing. Sure. Parenting in the mode of goodness looks like bringing up children in Krishna consciousness to give them the spiritual education, somehow inspire them, but not forcing them, then it becomes a mode of passion. So, love, discipline, coaching, but actually bringing them to.
Donc il faut leur donner une éducation spirituelle aux enfants, les inspirer d'une manière ou d'une autre, ne pas les forcer car cela devient alors le mode de la passion. Conduire dans la pure beauté, cela ressemble à conduire à des fins spirituelles. Donc bien sûr, on peut créer une atmosphère spirituelle dans la voiture en écoutant des kirtans ou des classes. Donc les discussions dans la bonté, ça apporte une inspiration spirituelle. Dans la pure vertu, c'est qu'on parle de Krishna, de la compréhension de Krishna, qui nous éclaire.
And so on and so forth. You can see how we can increase our behavior. So you get the point, right? How to transcend from goodness into pure goodness. Whenever we add Krishna in the mix,
quand on met Krishna dans le mix de la vertu, le mode de la vertu, alors ça la transcende. Et on est chanceux d'être ici à Mayapur parce que tout ce qu'on fait, c'est centré sur Krishna, toutes les activités. Tout ce qu'on crée, c'est pour Krishna. Le programme, c'est pour Krishna. On va à Tours, c'est pour Krishna. On emmène des gens, c'est pour Krishna.
So we are lucky here. We're always doing things for the spiritual benefit. We're cleaning the floor because Krishna devotees are going to eat here, drink, use this room, etc. Yeah.
And yeah, everything we do here is for Krishna, but if you don't do it consciously, is it still in the mode of, still it transcends the mode?
No.
You need to be conscious.
Yeah, attentive. There's a neglect. Neglecting is in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah. Et il faut être conscient aussi de pourquoi on fait la chose.
Ending our session, and then I wanted to just start the next one, but I'm getting way behind. When Krishna was born, and Vasudeva had to take the baby Krishna away.
Quand Krishna est né, Vasudeva a pris Krishna à Gokul pour le protéger.
When Krishna was born in a prison.
Krishna il est né dans une prison.
4 things happened.
4 choses sont passées.
The chains binding Vasudeva broke. He was bound up in the prison.
Les chaînes qui liaient Vasudeva se sont ouvertes.
The guards fell asleep.
Les gardes se sont endormis.
The guards fell asleep. The prison doors opened.
Les portes de la prison se sont ouvertes.
The ocean parted to create a path to the other side, which signifies the 3 modes of material nature. These events are very significant.
La rivière s'est séparée pour créer un chemin vers le côté.
The modes that control material nature collapsed simultaneously when Vasudeva picked up Krishna.
Signifiant que les 3 mots de la nature, ils n'ont pas d'influence.
When Krishna appears in our lives, i.e. when the opportunity of chanting appears in our lives,
c'est ça que ça signifie, ces éléments.
Then the prospect of devotional service arises in us to give us
de la nature
our
ne
life,
contrôle plus.
To give our life to Krishna arises.
Lorsque Krishna apparaît dans notre vie, alors.
So this is the point. Who's going to actually grasp that life that is arising?
Alors les mots de la nature commencent à se dissiper.
Who is going to take this in their heart? Who is going to actually utilize and maximize this opportunity? Because it's an opportunity.
Donc on a cette opportunité d'accueillir Krishna dans notre cœur.
Okay, we're going to pay you £1,000 a week, €1,000 a week.
Ok, si on vous paye 1 000 € pour faire pour devenir conscient de Krishna, alors tout le monde le ferait. On le ferait de façon sérieuse. Mais en fait, parce qu'on ne se rend pas compte du bénéfice incroyable qu'il y a derrière ces activités connectées à Krishna. On a dit le plan de retraite de la conscience de Krishna est au-delà de ce monde.
So just like that, and final 4 tips for the session to summarize. Please take these 4 transformative things away.
Prenez ça avec vous, ces 4 choses.
Early to bed, early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy, spiritually wise. Spiritually wealthy,
se coucher tôt, se lever tôt, cela contribue à la santé, à la richesse et à la sagesse.
Latest 5 a.m. better.
Levez-vous à 5 heures ou 6 heures au plus tard. Mais le mieux, c'est à 4 heures. Et cela va devenir une activité. Et cela va devenir une habitude pour vous. Votre régime alimentaire, mangez des aliments sains et réguliers. Mangez de façon régulière et des aliments sains. Évitez les aliments qui vous ralentissent, qui vous irritent et qui vous rendent lourd. Évitez de manger trop le soir. Spécialement ici, là, quand le prashad est tellement tard. Et aussi, offrez...
from lunchtime, and I'm going to have at 6 p.m. Make an adjustment in your life. If you're serious about it. Look at your environment, keep it clean, your car, your home, your workplace, your room, your cupboard, spiritually inspiring. And then find your spiritual practice, regularly chant,
l'environnement.
By 10 a.m., I've done my 16 rounds.
Gardez votre maison, votre voiture et votre lieu de travail propre et spirituellement inspirant que possible. Et la pratique spirituelle, chantez régulièrement tous les jours sans faute.
Alright, chapters 14 and 17, we talked about 3 modes: race for prominence, actions in the modes, and pure life.
Donc voilà, dans ces chapitres 14 à 17, on a parlé des 3 modes de la nature qui contrôlent les entités vivantes dans ce monde.
Who's fighting?
Race for prominence.
Who's fighting?
We.
No. The modes are fighting for our attention, either bringing us into mode of ignorance or bringing us into mode of passion.
Donc les modes de la nature se battent pour avoir notre attention. Le sutra, pour ce chapitre spécifique, le monde nous enseigne que celui qui est riche a le plus. La Bhagavad Gita nous enseigne que celui qui est riche a besoin de moins, a besoin de moins de choses. Il a le moins de besoins.
Needs the least. We haven't finished.
I thought we had two.
On n'a pas fini.
Because I just wanted to give you the start of chapter 15. Chapter 15, which is the next chapter, Yoga of the Supreme. He starts with this. We talked about rope, guna, right? Look at this wonderful banyan tree. You see the banyan tree?
Regardez ce magnifique arbre banyan. Là, on veut parler un peu du chapitre 5, 15.
There are roots, upside down tree, which has lots of roots.
Il y a des racines en fait qui viennent des branches.
It's another analogy that Srila Prabhupada uses in the purport about how it binds us.
C'est une analogie que Srila Prabhupada nous donne comment ça nous lie à ce monde.
This world has is like an upside down banyan tree.
Ce monde est comme un arbre banyan,
un arbre à l'envers.
C'est une réflexion de ce monde matériel. Si on regarde un arbre sur un lac, il sera à l'envers sur le lac, dans la réflexion. Pareillement, en fait, ce monde est une réflexion.
That's why it is said that this is not our home. Our home is back in the spiritual world.
C'est un reflet perverti de le monde spirituel.
The acronym for this chapter is home. Okay?
Donc c'est pour ça ce chapitre 15, l'acronyme c'est home, c'est maison.
Or it's just a hotel.
Donc il faut choisir, est-ce que ce monde c'est notre maison ou c'est juste un hôtel? C'est les 5 premiers versets. Après c'est on and on, on va voir ce que ça veut dire. Après, c'est maintenir.
Essence of the Gita.
En fait, c'est l'essence de la Gita.
Previously, we talked about, because this chapter is called Yoga of the Supreme.
Ce chapitre, il s'appelle le yoga du...
Previously, we talked about Gita
Purushottam
in 4
Yoga,
verses,
yoga
Chatur Shloki Gita. You
suprême.
remember? Chatur Shloki Gita we talked about? 8 to 11. Which chapter? Chapter 10. Chapter 10, verses 8 to 11 is known as the Chatur Shloki Gita, which means if those 4 verses you completely imbibe in your life, you live your life through that, you're living the entire Gita, just by those 4 verses. Now, I'm going to show you 3 Shloki Gita. 3 verses. If 4 verses are too much, then just these 3 verses in this chapter, we will look at the essence of the Gita. Okay? And we'll go through that also. So, this world is depicted by this picture. Beautiful, isn't it? You have a nice couch. You have your television.
Confusing.
Confusing. Thank you. Yes. It's too much cluttered, isn't it? There's a nice magazine here. So many things going on.
Nice magazine?
Some might think so.
If you say so.
Some might think so.
Superman,
yeah. Roller coaster of our lives, things we are interacting with at every moment. So many people, so many places, so many things, so many situations that we are interacting at every moment. Flashlight, flashy things, yes. Constantly getting our attention. Gimme, 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 gimme. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. What Krishna does in chapter 15 is that he compares this material world to a banyan tree. Right? So here is a wonderful banyan tree, it's a real banyan tree. You can see. This is in Kolkata. Yes, this banyan tree is always growing, continuously growing. In Kolkata, which spread at almost a mile in a diameter. That's how big this is.
A mile?
A mile in diameter. Because its roots is just growing and growing and growing and it's going. We only got a small picture here, but it's like literally boom, boom, boom like this.
It's a sacred tree, they worship.
It's a sacred tree, they worship. Yes, banyan tree is actually from the spiritual world. And so, it's a very complex and very rare tree. Krishna explains in the Gita that world is like a banyan tree that is being reflected on a body of water, which I just said. And then material world is an upside down reflection of the spiritual world. Sanskrit name of banyan tree is Ashvatha. I'll write that down here. Ashvatha.
Le nom sanskrit de l'arbre banyan, c'est Ashvatha.
We'll come to that verse. Ashvatha. Tha means to stay. Tha means to stay.
Sta signifie rester.
And swa means
et sva
tomorrow.
Signifie demain.
Tomorrow. So, a means not. Okay.
Et a signifie
So literally,
pas.
it means Ashvatha means that
Donc
which will not be
l'étymologie
here tomorrow.
littérale du mot Asvata signifie ce qui ne sera pas là demain.
Tomorrow, to stay, not to stay here tomorrow.
Ça ne serait pas là demain. C'est ce que ça signifie. Parce que ce monde et tout ce qui s'y trouve est temporaire. Ça signifie que c'est temporaire.
Okay. So here it is.
Donc là, 15.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Udvamulam Ada Shakham Ashwatam Prahur Avyadam Chandapsi Yasya Parnani
Dieu, la personne suprême, dit qu'il y a un banyan impérissable dont les racines pointent vers le haut et les branches vers le bas. Ces feuilles sont les hymnes védiques. Qui le connaît, connaît les Védas.
Very good. Thank you. So the depiction of this in painting, because Srila Prabhupada's disciples were amazing artists, and he commissioned them to draw.
Prabhupada, il avait des disciples qui étaient des artistes incroyables, et il a demandé à certains de ses disciples de créer ça.
Spiritual world, look at the spiritual world. Radha and Krishna are there, the cows are there, swans, River Yamuna, peacocks,
and what about
cows.
Desire? Is that the heavenly planets?
It's the ocean of material desire.
Yes, let's discuss. Good question. We're coming to this.
Okay, sorry, I was a bit too quick.
Because the picture is not complete here.
Yeah, the picture is not complete.
Ah, it's normal, no?
It's normal.
Okay.
Because remember, just like in the creation, it goes down.
Oh, nice.
Like this.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing, huh?
So we'll get to that. Just a little sneaky peeky for you. So, in this beautiful picture, as you can see Krishna in the spiritual world.
Dans cette magnifique photo, on peut voir Krishna qui est dans le monde spirituel.
Spiritual world. What you see in the original form of the banyan tree in the spiritual world is like this. What you see on this top here, top part, Krishna is there. But as soon as the living entity has material desire.
Mais dès que l'être entité a des désirs matériels,
ce
désir crée un reflet du monde réel. À cause de ce désir déviant, alors on va dans le monde matériel. Du coup, Krishna il crée un reflet du monde spirituel.
Which is the material world as we see and experience.
Et ça, c'est le monde matériel qu'on expérimente maintenant.
When we look outside the window and around us, is reflected from that banyan tree. Here we see Krishna with Radharani. Earlier on, we saw all the cows, etc. As soon as we have the desire acts as the water, and the reflection that happens is the barrier between spiritual world and the material world.
Dès qu'on a des désirs matériels, voilà ce qui se passe. Ça agit comme le reflet
As we go lower
spirituel.
Down, it's a different thing.
Du coup, on vient
Fruits like religiosity. You see religiosity, fruits of religiosity here.
Les fruits de la religiosité.
Where we're doing some prayers and so on. These are the fruits that we are all looking for, things that give us some taste. Here you can see that living entities are jumping from one branch to other to experience different things.
Ce sont les différents fruits, qu'on cherche en sautant de branche en branche, en expérimentant des choses différentes activités.
Different types of activities, some good and some not so good.
Des fois des bonnes, des fois des moins bonnes.
Look at this guy here. What's this guy doing? Killing somebody. What are they doing? Sense gratification. Here? The sun? He's hunting, he's cutting something down with a sword. This guy is just praying. It is said that the leaves are the Vedic hymns. Leaves undergo photosynthesis, which gives life to the tree, nourishment, and in the same time allows the living
Il dit que les feuilles sont les hymnes védiques. Elles subsistent par la photosynthèse et qui donnent vie à l'arbre. De la même manière, les hymnes védiques donnent vie, sens à leur existence.
Now the fact is that the banyan tree is reflected in a very significant, is very significant because it's a reflection. First thing in a reflection is that there is no substance. When you see a reflection, you don't see the individual detail, isn't it? You see just a blur reflection. This is the thing. He said, this world is also a blur reflection. There is no substance.
Donc le fait que ce banyan se reflète dans l'eau est significant, car il n'y a pas de substance dans le reflet. Si maintenant vous voyez le reflet d'un fruit dans l'eau, est-ce que vous pouvez le manger? Non. Si vous allez si vous voulez l'attraper, le fruit dans le reflet, vous allez vous mouiller, mais vous n'allez pas pouvoir vous nourrir. Donc il n'y a pas de substance.
So this is the real form of the material. It won't satisfy us. The material world will not satisfy us.
Le monde matériel ne peut pas nous satisfaire.
We think we're going to get happy? No. It's not going to satisfy us.
Illusion, Maya.
It's illusion. It's illusory. We think we're going to get happiness from all these activities, from sense objects, from all these different things. We go down, as we go down and down, we even go down to the animal platform, do different things. There's a little horse there. So pious activities elevates us.
Les activités pieuses peuvent nous élever.
Impious activities
les activités impies nous dégradent. It's like the game of life.
Holy name. Holy name.
Holy name. Holy name, pious activities, even the holy name gives us a quick
elevator.
Shoot up, lift, rocket. So, just like this. Just making sure I've covered everything. Also in the first picture, we saw Radha and Krishna, which is at the apex, we find pure transcendental love that goes on between Radha and Krishna, his topmost confidential devotee. And that is the apex of the transcendental world. But in a reflection,
donc on a vu que tout en haut, il y avait tout en haut de l'image, il y avait Radha et Krishna, qui était le plus haut de niveau spirituel, et c'est l'amour pur et transcendantal qui unit Radha et Krishna. Donc c'est le sommet. Mais la réflexion dans ce monde, le reflet, ça devient la gratification des sens et soi-disant amour de ce monde. Donc la concupiscence est ce qui est le plus bas dans ce monde. C'est ce qui nous maintient dans ce monde matériel. En fin de compte, Krishna nous rappelle que ce monde est à l'envers et que dans ce cas, on peut se sentir ni naturel ni à l'aise. Et on peut pas rester ici vraiment. Krishna nous dit précisément que ce monde est inconfortable, contre nature, et que nous ne sommes pas censés y être, que nous devons retourner au monde spirituel. Il faut monter.
Fish out of water, basically trying to think that we are enjoying. But hang on, our enjoyment, our natural character is in the spiritual world. Fish swimming in this wonderful river. Okay. All right.
And the time is Keshavaswami's class.
It's at 7 p.m. this evening.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, we will.
Ok, on a fini pour aujourd'hui. Merci.
Just one small thing, and then we'll finish.
Une petite dernière chose.
Look at this picture. Beautiful, isn't it?
Regardez cette magnifique image.
Looks amazing. The river is here. You can meditate on this picture until our lesson tomorrow. We're going to start here tomorrow. And I'll tell you why this picture is really good, right? How many say really good picture?
It's nice.
You like to go there?
No.
No?
No.
You already have it here.
So yeah, would you like to go and see it? Okay?
Well, we don't have the horse.
Okay, but we could get horses.
I thought that was your desktop saying something. That's why I got up.
You don't have river.
We want to transcend beyond.
This is, okay?
One is Krishna.
Krishna's in this house here, look. The deity of Krishna is in the house. So meditate on this if you tell me tomorrow whether you want to go here or not. Okay?
Okay.
And then you go to
Depends where it is.
Montana.
Krishna is in the
You
heart.
take more like